The UFC has a not so serious problem on their hands, but more of a fan problem. Why on earth do we give these champions who lost the belt an immediate rematch when they don't deserve one? Now, don't get me wrong. The two people which I've included in the thumb, I think are great athletes. I think were great champions, brought a lot to the sport. Dude, I'm like the biggest Volk fan you could possibly imagine. But it's something I see sometimes, right? And it's not just the fans. Sometimes it's the UFC. Sometimes the fans don't want to see a rematch, right? There's been a lot of controversy surrounding Izzy getting as many title shots as he wants, it seems like. And on the other end of things, people want Sean Strickland to rematch Dricus du Plessis for the belt when we've got guys like Khamzat Chimaev right there. Or for instance, Volk to get another rematch against Ilia Topuria. I don't want that. Now, granted, look, I'll give you this. Sean Strickland had a very, very close fight with Dricus du Plessis, a fight that a lot of people thought he won. I have to rewatch it again. I've watched it a couple times now, and it's one of those ones where it could have gone either way. And I want to stress also how different him and Volk are, right? Because there's always different situations with these champions. Volk was a long reigning champ. He took out many a name in his rise to the top, and he was a consummate champion, defended the belt many times. Strickland had a really nice string of wins coming up to his title defense, and he even took out Izzy handily. So I don't want to take anything away from either of these guys, but in both of these examples, I don't like this idea that the community seems to have, and sometimes the UFC seems to have, where we give guys rematches for the respect of being a consummate champion, or the respect of giving the champion a close fight. Respect doesn't sell pay-per-views. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in either of these rematches. And I think a lot of people put the respect factor over having an interesting and still high-level matchup that we could combine any of the other guys in these divisions with a champion to make. For instance, the big hoopla right now between du Plessis and Sean Strickland is that Sean feels like he deserves that title fight over Khamzat Chimaev, who just made Robert Whittaker look like an absolute child in the cage. Does he deserve it? I guess you could say, yeah. Does anyone deserve anything? I don't know. I mean, listen, he had a good win against Paulo Costa. Do I think Paulo Costa's on Chimaev's level? Absolutely not, after what we saw he did to Robert Whittaker. On the Volk side of things, Topuria has so many other guys in the 145-pound division that we could see him up against. I just don't feel comfortable giving Volk that rematch, even though he was a long-reigning champion so soon, due to the way that he lost that first fight. And I get that he looked good, he was holding his own, but he was getting backed up, and you got a sense, at least when I was watching it, I got a sense that it was kind of like Topuria fights the fight that he always does, and he fought the fight that he did against Max Holloway, where he's looking for that shot, and once he found it, it was lights out for the champion. I don't feel comfortable giving Volk or Sean Strickland a rematch. I think I want to see, and it's not only for the champion's sake, getting to get different looks from different guys that might be younger and hungrier inside the division. It's also for the challengers, right? Like, I want to see Sean Strickland go up against Cal Baralho, Robert Whittaker, and for Volk, I know he's rumored to be fighting Lopez next. That was something I saw kind of floating around on MMA, Instagram, and Twitter. That's a fun fight too. I want to see Volk fight these younger guys that are hungry to take his spot. But why on earth do fans and sometimes the UFC staff, if they have a favorite fighter, let's call it how it is, all of a sudden pull this rule out of thin air where it's like, we got to do it for the respect of these fighters? It's not disrespectful to say, hey, pick up another win, right? Because let's just say Volk dismantles Lopez, or Sean Strickland goes out there and gets a real tough win. I don't mind throwing them back in the title discussion, but this thing that we do where we want to start log jamming the divisions by just giving these guys that may have had a close fight or reigned for such a long time an instant rematch, I don't know. That's not me. I can't get behind that. There's also just a lot of moving parts that I think a lot of fans don't understand, or maybe don't want to understand. UFC is a company, and if we focus on one fight in a vacuum where Sean Strickland really took it to DDP, again, credit to him, then we're also forgetting about all these other young and upcoming hungry guys at 185 that want to crack at the title. Or in Volk's case, and again, I hate to say this because I'm the biggest Volk fan you'll find, a guy that's getting older versus young and again, hungry talent in 145. To me, that's a no-brainer. Why are we going to logjam these divisions? Why are we going to hold up guys that are on win streaks and have a bunch of momentum behind them? I just feel like we'd be robbing ourselves of so many different potential options. I don't think we discredit that. Listen, if I'm a matchmaker, I'm not looking at what's the most respectful way to deal with a postpartum champion. I'm looking at what makes sense for the division, what's a fun and exciting fight, and at the end of that pile might come the fact that, oh yeah, this guy was a long reigning champion. You know what? If we have no one else, we might throw them a bone. That notion, though, when there's tons of stuff above that, doesn't even really factor into the equation for me, if I'm being honest. Look, would these rematches be nice? Yes. Are they required? No. Do we as fans want to see them? Yes. Does that mean that the UFC is obligated to make these fights? No. And I think we need to stop. I'm going to say some people are probably coping because they really like a fighter and they really want to see him compete again. We got to stop, though, with this notion that we should just give a champion an instant rematch if they lost handily or even if they had a razor-thin fight. Without further ado, that's been the episode for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and without further ado, it's been your boy, the combat consultant, the soundboard god, Jacob Cooperman. And I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.